Hi, Charles.
Hello.
I see a couple other people on. We just started our live stream, so we are live everywhere, but we are waiting for everybody to join, so we're nowhere close to a quorum. And hi, Stephen. We are already live with our meeting, but we don't have any quorum yet. Still waiting for members.
Okay, it's very early. Oh, be right back.
Hi, Shauna.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. We're slowly getting started. We're live streaming already, but we have no members.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think I see Matt has joined us.
Good morning, Paul.
Matt,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You sound perfect. I have you attending. Thank you. And I see Paul. Paul, just to confirm, you're attending for Rich today, correct?
If you say so.
I'm going to put you, I'm going to mark you down. Okay. We are still far away from a quorum. We're already live streaming, but we're waiting for a lot of members to join. We're expecting almost a full house today. And actually, while we're waiting, if we could do a quick mic check, Megan and Borden, when you get a chance, if you could hear you perfect. Thank you, Megan.
Check, check.
Perfect. Sound good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Paul, this is Charles. Do you need to check my mic? Are we okay?
You sound good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think I've seen Tony join. Tony, could you unmute yourself real quick, do a mic check, make sure you're with us?
I'm here.
Thank you, Tony. I see Dana, and I also saw Todd, I think.
Todd. Yes.
Hey, Todd, and you're sitting in for Neil today, correct?
Correct.
Great. So we are at the top of the hour. We still don't have quorum, but I'll do a quick check just to make sure that we don't have any other members that I don't know about. So far, on the management side, we have Todd, Paul, Tony, and Matt. Oh, actually, I see Rich just joined. Is there anybody, and that's, I only have those 4 members on the management side, which is Rich, Todd, Tony, and Matt. Is there any other JLMBC member who's joined us that I did not call? No? Okay, so then we're still waiting for quorum.
Hi, team.
Hi, Rich.
Morning.
Even my team. Hello, Paul. I see you on the little screen. I don't see anybody, an actual person. There are no actual people anymore.
I did see Marlene pop in, but let me just make sure. Marlene, do you have connection to audio?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
We can hear. You sound great. We are still waiting for quorum. So far, I have Marlene, Todd, Rich, Tony, and Matt. Is there anybody on the JLMBC that I did not call who's joined us? Okay, we are still a couple of members shy of quorum. Oh, and I was on mute. I see Wendy's joined us. Let me just do an audio check for Wendy. Can you unmute yourself real quick?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect. Thank you. We are still waiting for quorum. So I have a full quorum on management side, at least it seems like. I have Wendy, Todd, Rich, Tony, and Matt. But on the labor side, I only have Marlene. Is there anybody else on the labor side who has joined but hasn't announced themselves? So we're still waiting for quorum.
Hello, Stephen or Paul?
Hi.
I'm on. It's Paul Beachley.
Thank you, Paul. We are still waiting for quorum. We are live streaming, but we're not ready to start the meeting. We're one member shy of a quorum right now.
Okay, I'll just hang out.
Oh, and I think I just saw Dave join. Okay, Dave, I think you're connected now. If you could announce yourself.
Good morning, I am here. Good morning, everyone. This is Dave
Hey,
Sanders.
Dave. Okay.
Sorry for
Good morning, Dave. Oh, no worries. We are expecting, I think, one more committee member to join us, but as of now, we have quorum. We have Dave Sanders on the committee side, and also Paul and Marlene. On the management side, we have a full body of Wendy, Todd, Rich, Tony, and Matt. So we do have a quorum if you'd like to begin.
Yes, we can call the meeting to order and we can begin. And since we've done roll call, I guess we go right to public comments. Is that where we are?
Correct.
Okay. And you will make the announcement. Are there any public comments? Anyone in waiting?
So for anybody who is participating on the phone, if you'd like to make a public comment, now's the time. If you press *6 on your phone and announce yourself. We'll give you a couple minutes in case there's any public comment. Hearing none.
Hearing none. Thank you, Paul. We will go on to the next item on the agenda. The committee report 2110, Health Service Request for Proposal.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I will kick this off. So first, this presentation and this discussion will be a group effort. I did want to introduce the other members of the review committee who are here with me today. That includes Paul and Shauna Janeway, Dana Brown. From Kenan, we have Megan Gardner and Borden Darm and Lori LaFranco. And then from Siegel, we have Steve Murphy. So I did want to start off just by thanking them all for the incredibly hard work they've put into the process, all of the thoughtfulness and care and time that they've given. It's truly been a privilege to work with all of them. I also wanted to acknowledge and thank the 6 proposers for all of the work that they have done in not only putting together their proposals, but answering our questions and participating in all the elements of the process that we've had thus far to bring to you the information that we're presenting today. In this report, we're going to present some key information that was part of the responses to the RFP. We recognize this is a tremendous amount of material. We don't expect you to have had a chance to be able to digest all of it. Our goals for this meeting are really to help to familiarize you with the range of proposals that we're working with, introduce you to some of the complexities and the distinctions of what's being offered, share with you and talk with you a little bit about some of the key plan design issues that have been raised by the proposals and the issues that have been considered thus far that we'd like to bring to you. Review some of the core elements of the vendor capabilities in terms of organizational strength, administrative services, and member services. Review cost proposal information, review the disruption analysis that has been prepared, And then we will wrap up by just sort of quickly running through for you what the process steps are and the timeline for moving us forward. And also getting your feedback, which is very critical for us, so that we can continue to move the process forward. Just by way of introduction, I'd also wanted to say that one of the things that makes this procurement particularly interesting, particularly complicated, is that it's not simply a matter of choosing providers. It also involves certain plan design questions, which will need to be resolved at the same time. And there are important variations in what the vendors proposed. We gave them a lot of latitude in the RFP in terms of what types of plans they wanted to include within their proposals. And so that gives you and sort of, lots of a number of different options. But of course, it makes the whole process a little bit more complicated. So we're going to start off. We're sort of going to. There are some of us who are going to be taking lead on presenting different material. So to start off, I'm going to turn it over to Megan, and she's going to just give you an overview of the proposers and the plan types that they included as part of their proposals. So Megan.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and review the findings of the review committee to date for the LA Well Health Plan Services RFP. As Stephen mentioned, there were 6 proposers that submitted a bid for this RFP, and they include Aetna, Anthem, Blue Shield, HealthNet, Kaiser, and United Healthcare. Now, as part of the RFP, we requested bids for the following coverage types. This included a staff model plan, for which your current provider is Kaiser. And Kaiser is the only proposer that submitted a proposal for the staff model coverage. We also solicited non-staff model plan coverage, which included a national PPO, a narrow network HMO, a full network HMO, and an alternative care or network HMO. Now, Anthem is your current incumbent that's providing these lines of coverage. And what we'll do is we'll walk through each type of coverage and provide an overview of the proposals that were received from the bidders. So for the national provider PPO plan, the PPO network, all bidders for the non-staff model plans provided a PPO proposal with the exception of HealthNet. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means in terms of disruption and options a little bit later when we get into plan design and cost. But it's something to be noted that the PPO coverage for HealthNet is not provided by HealthNet in their proposal. For the narrow network HMO, all bidders provided proposals for the narrow network plan. Two points of note: Blue Shield provided not just one, but 2 narrow network plans. They proposed a SaveNet and a Trio narrow network plan, which can be provided separately or together. HealthNet also provided multiple narrow network plans. They provided 3 for consideration. That includes their Excel Care network, their Smart Care, and their Saluti Moss plans, which also can be provided together or separately. Now, the additional narrow network plans that were provided by Blue Shield and HealthNet, they provide different levels of network access, which we're going to touch on in great detail when we talk about disruption. They also provide different price points to consider, and we'll talk about that when we get into cost as well. For the full network HMO model, all bidders provided proposals for that line of coverage. For the alternative care or network model HMO, we saw a variety of strategies from the bidders. So the current plan that's in place is provided by Anthem, and it's the current Vivity plan, which is a regional network plan that includes hospital systems and medical groups affiliated with UCLA and Cedars. And Anthem's proposal included a continuation of Vivity for the next contract period. In addition, Anthem also provided 2 additional options that were not requested as part of the RFP. And that was for 2 different levels of high deductible health plans. Those plans didn't fit the definition of an alternative care model as requested by the RFP, but rather were a different cost sharing mechanism for members. As far as the other proposers that submitted bids for the alternative care model, Aetna and United Healthcare provided proposals for those. However, network equivalency is an area of focus that we're going to touch on a little bit later when we discuss disruption. Blue Shield took on a slightly different approach and did not provide a true proposal for an alternative care model. Instead, they indicated that the city could retain Anthem's Vivity plan alongside their offerings. And there's some impacts to consider with that strategy that we'll touch on a little bit later. Relative to the alternative care model, HealthNet also did not provide a true alternative care option. Rather, their proposal included considerations for the additional narrow network plans that we mentioned. They provided 3 of them. Now, as far as the actual plan design considerations for the proposals received, I'm going to hand things back over to Stephen to kind of review what the plan designs look like.
Thanks, Megan. And first of all, before we move on, I just want to see if there were any questions on the prior section on just sort of who bid what. If not, then we'll move forward. And so, you know, as I had mentioned at the beginning, there are some plan design questions that need to be resolved at the same time that you are coming up with recommendations for who the providers are going to be. So if we want to go to page 6 of the staff report, you know, we didn't limit proposers in terms of what they could bid. We just reviewed with Megan what the variations are. And so as the review committee was looking at this information, what we talked about a lot was really what we defined and talked about here is sort of the issues or the considerations that are part of evaluating what we're referring to as bundling versus unbundling. In bundling, it's basically, that is the plan design model we currently have, where all of the non-Kaiser options are bundled under one provider. However, because the RFP did contemplate and did not limit us in terms of the ability to vary from that, there are opportunities potentially to unbundle and to have to essentially have more than one provider for the non-staff model plans, and also to have more than one alternative care option. So what we wanted to do was just sort of, you know, and I'll just briefly recap here what some of the issues, and this is sort of, we've laid this out more in like in terms of pros and cons. So just to recap very quickly, maintaining the bundling with one provider does help to align the vendor's interests with the city's interests in terms of maintaining the viability of all the plans, versus having, you know, 2 vendors who may be essentially competing against one another for the same group of people, which might over time actually undermine the viability of one of the plans. And as an example, you know, we have talked with you in the past about sort of the issues and the considerations about maintaining the viability of the PPO plan. So that is something that we certainly talked about as we were looking through this. On the other hand, more plan offerings may be uniquely appealing to some of our members, and so there are definitely some of what came forward in the RFP where we may want to look at that more closely. In terms of pricing, potentially there are advantages in going with a fully bundled provider, but there also may be more competitive offerings within the particular plan types that are being offered. And you know, we'll get into more of the details there when we talk about pricing later. But we also need to await the outcome of the best and final, which could change what we, the information that we presently have. In terms of member outcomes, we do want to be cognizant of the potential that too many choices may be overly confusing to members who might not or might have challenges in understanding what the differences are. On the other hand, if something is uniquely appealing and that ends up sort of creating greater engagement, that could also over time help to support health outcomes. Administrative issues are always a concern for our shop. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into managing vendor relationships. We are a very small group, so we need to make sure that we're not going to be biting off more than we can effectively manage. On the other hand, it's also true that we learn from our vendors, and we do try to apply their best practices as broadly as we can across our various vendors. So in, at a high level, it's our thought that for this procurement cycle that the JLMBC should, if unbundling is going to be contemplated, that you proceed, with some level of sort of not overextending that, right? So to make sure that if we're going to be introducing new plans or multiple providers, that would be done thoughtfully, and we've laid out sort of certain general tests, which we've outlined in terms of cost, being able to fulfill a distinct service need, and not overwhelming our members with not overwhelming them with too much complexity. So I know that was quite a lot. Before we proceed to sort of review some of the major categories of the responses, happy to take any questions on that. Okay. All right, then we will keep marching on. And now to talk about the organizational competency of the proposers.
Stephen, I think David was trying to chime in. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
He might have been on mute.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just a quick thought on the unbundling or bundling of the. I see in one proposal in particular where Blue Shield has offered to, I guess we'd call it unbundle, or to bundle with the Anthem Vivity plan. And I assume that's as an example what you were talking about. So what our consideration would be if we were to do that, I know you cautioned in terms of all the potential downsides, I shouldn't say downsides, but the problems that may occur administratively. But if in fact this bundling makes sense to have Vivity and Blue Shield work together, our concern should be, or should our focus simply be on whether or not that continues to provide the service of UCLA and Cedars and meet our price points or the cost is within reason. That would be considered a recommendation that we should consider. Am I reading you right? Is that what unbundling or bundling means?
Right. So the unbundling is basically, essentially it means for the non-Kaiser plans, it means either adding an additional provider, like having more than one provider for those 4 plans, or adding an additional plan type. So instead of 4 options, potentially there could be more than 4, right? So when we asked for these alternative care models, you can think of them as basically different networks, and so if you added an additional network, that's another plan type, and that would be in addition to the ones that we presently offer. So that's unbundling. It's basically going outside of the 4 just under a single provider.
And the way that Blue Shield presented it is that additional cost, so that's all part of the cost that they put in their bid if they were to add the Vivity plan. that be another additional cost to the city? Or
Well, it's not an additional cost. What it is what they're saying is for those 4 holes that we have, right, to fill.
Right.
That in their proposal, they're not proposing to fill that regional network one. They're saying if Anthem and Vivity are going to, like, they're saying that their assumption would be that the city would maintain that, and then their options would be offered for the other categories for the PPO, the narrow network, and the full network.
Stephen, this is Rich. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say with David, if this is really about Cedars and UCLA, as opposed to conceptual, you know, do we want to figure out a way to keep them? Or is this some concept about all sorts of different models and bundling, and 2 from United and 2 from, or is it really just about, are we going to keep Cedars, UCLA, however that happens? And then you're going to ultimately make a recommendation that it's either too expensive or it's not, or it's worth it. And we're going to have to figure that out. Or is it actually anything else? This whole notion of, if it's really just them, it seems to be a more concrete question.
So at this point, because we're just initially presenting this material to you, it's not limited to just Vivity, right? We're not only talking about the potential for let's, as an example, maintaining Vivity under Anthem, but then having another provider offering the other plans, because you do have other networks of plans that are part of what's being proposed by the other vendors. So that's part of what's at this point, these are still options that are on the table. Like we're not coming forward and sort of saying that you know, anything at this point should be ruled out. What we're trying to do is to present all of what they've come forward with, so that you have that fully informed landscape to make a decision about do we want to do we want to have more than one provider? Do we want to have more than one plan, or more than the 4 plans that we're currently offering? So if that doesn't make sense, maybe one of the other review committee members can chime in. If I'm not.
I guess, Stephen, I think conceptually, I don't know if we all, speaking for myself, I shouldn't say for all of us, if you told us having 4 providers, everyone would be better and cheaper, it'd be a pain in the butt for you, but it would be actually better and cheaper. Okay. If you told us it was going to be more expensive and a pain, that's no. And our members aren't happy. So I don't know if there's a conceptual on my part that one only, I get why one only kind of makes sense, but if your staff and a consultant said, actually, we can handle 2, or we could handle 3, but not 4, you know, I would be open to that, but it requires, I think, staff saying we don't recommend more than 3. We don't recommend 2. It's an option to have 1 United and 1 Blue Cross and 1 Anthem, but it's not a good idea. Ultimately, don't we need a recommendation as opposed to some concept of?
Right. Well, if you look at in the report, the recommendation with respect to plan design is that if we're going to add additional providers or plan types, that it be within the parameters that we've defined. So essentially what we're saying is it's got to provide a cost value. It's got to, it should meet some unmet need, right? It should be offering something that is not presently being offered. That we make sure that sort of it makes sense in terms of of dealing with the administrative burdens that go along with dealing with multiple vendors. For this procurement cycle, we're saying no more than one additional plan type, or more than one additional provider.
No, Rich, this is Lori from Kenan. Hi, everybody. Really, it's none of the providers gave us a narrow network that included the same doctors and hospitals as Vivity, okay? Their other networks did include those, but they would be more expensive for employees to purchase because they would have to go into their full networks to get the same doctors and providers. So the thought process here is Anthem said, we'll leave Vivity and we'll let you have Vivity only if that's the way you want to go, and pair it up with another carrier that may have some other plans we do want. So that's what we're presenting here is, do we want to mix them? Do we want to have Vivity mixed with another provider's plans? Or do we want to, or is Anthem and all the Anthem plans that we currently have the best way to go? We're not telling you which way to go. We're giving you all of the options.
I guess, Lori, what I hear from that, going back to David and my comments, is this is really about, are we going to have Vivity with someone else or nothing? It's not a conceptual, it's not conceptual, it's Vivity.
Well,
so we shouldn't, it's much more confusing if you're asking me to look at one Anthem and one Blue Cross or one United and
no,
if it's just
it's Vivity.
doing, yes, okay.
It's Vivity.
That's a different, to me, that's not some highfalutin bundling, unbundling. It's, we have this one plan, are we gonna make it work?
I just want to point out one thing. I mean, Vivity is a large consideration, but Health Net also did not propose a PPO option. So in terms of looking at Health Net's proposal, it's the Vivity and a PPO that we would want to take into account. Also, as far as bundling and unbundling, I think you'll find when we get into the cost proposal section and board will review this, there are some areas to kind of focus on and think about in terms of what the pricing looks like. And, Anthem, while they did say that, we could provide Vivity on a standalone basis, there could be some impact to rate caps for future years to consider. So it is a very complex issue to consider. There are a domino effect of choosing one option or another in terms of the category or criteria that Stephen mentioned is providing demonstratable cost value. So Vivity is a large part of that, but there is some other considerations as well.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. So if there's no other questions on plan design, then I will turn it over to Steve Murphy to provide some background on the organizational qualifications for the proposers.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning, everyone. Just a very brief overview on kind of the organizational composition of the bidders. So from our perspective, the committee's perspective, all bidders have strong brand recognition and significant client and membership presence in California. As an example, Kaiser reported over 12 million HMO members, with primarily concentrated in California. Anthem reported the second highest California HMO membership at 725,000. The other bidders reported their membership at around 500,000 members. From a PPO perspective, Anthem reported the highest membership at 5.1 million. Aetna reported 1.2 million, and United Healthcare came in at just over 500,000. So again, very strong presence in the marketplace and the ability to negotiate with providers. One of the next areas of consideration would be client retention, which is a demonstration of the bidder's ability to meet the long-term needs of their clients. Health Net reported the highest HMO retention rate at 94%, followed closely by Blue Shield at 93% and Anthem at 90%. Unfortunately, Kaiser did not respond to this data request, but again, they typically have very high retention rates among their clients. With respect to the PPO, Anthem reported the highest retention rate at 94%. Probably the next series of considerations would be the ability of the vendors to meet their financial obligations. And we
Stephen, I'm sorry, what page are you on, or is that part of the document?
I'm just giving a high-level overview. Otherwise, I would put you to sleep with the 6 or 7 pages I could go over.
But it is included in the pack. You don't have to, but it's in the pack. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We could do question 34. You ready?
Nope.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. From a financial solvency perspective, again, all the bidders were able to meet the minimum financial requirements of at least one rating agency, and that would include AM Best, Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. So everyone met at least one. The majority met at least 2 different rating agencies minimum requirements. So from that perspective, again, all the bidders meet the minimum lower requirements, and again, could be very good partners for the city going forward. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
If no questions there, what we wanted to do was provide just some highlights as well from our next larger group. We had quite a number of questions in the RFP, and you'll see a lot of the material that is included within the longer PowerPoint attachment to the report. But there's a lot of questions on member quality of care, resources, and all of those sort of member impact services. And for that, we're going to just have we're going to turn it over to Shauna to give a bit of an overview.
Good morning, committee. So I'm going to go over the member quality of care, resources and services section of the RFP questionnaire, which addresses the resources available to members to access their benefits and receive care. A lot of this was very similar among the proposers. So I'm just going to, and it's pretty dense. So I'm just going to run through and highlight some of the items that were a bit different among the proposers. And then if you have any questions, we can dive a bit deeper into it. Oh, thank you, Paul. So he's got that on screen kind of where I'm at. So for the enrollment section of this, very, very similar, of course, everybody gets their ID card. They have very similar online resources and processes. Blue Shield seemed to be a little bit quicker about, excuse me, processing those ID cards. And Aetna chose a family card style, which is a little bit different. So then moving on to the call center member services, all of the, excuse me, God, sorry, allergies. There we go. So Kaiser was the only provider who can't provide a dedicated call center team or custom number specifically for our group. And the call statistics varied a lot across all of the bidders. This was something that really did stand out. HealthNet reported the best staff to member ratio and some of the more favorable call center statistics. Looking at customer service and quality control, the average wait time for members to schedule a routine appointment with their primary care physician ranged a lot between 7 and 30 calendar days. So that's something to kind of look at. Aetna reported the shortest wait time. Anthem and Kaiser unfortunately reported the longest wait times. However, looking at the wait time to get a referral appointment with specialists ranged a little bit less, between 14 and 21 calendar days, with Aetna and Anthem having the shortest wait times in that section. And if we move forward to grievances and appeals, Kaiser had the highest number of complaints in the reported 12 months with respect to benefit program coverage and administration, provider access issues, and the referral process. Looking at member advocacy and support services, all of the bidders were able to provide a full-time member advocate except for HealthNet, who said that they would provide that proportionally based on the premium cost of the plans awarded. So some percentage of time would be allocated based on the final contract. As far as the options for PCP selection, Anthem, Blue Shield, and HealthNet had the greatest number there. And moving on to prescription drug management. Stop me if I'm going a little too fast. I know it's a lot to get through, so I'm sort of doing a high-level speed through here. Looking at prescription drug management, Aetna, Kaiser, and United Healthcare all own their prescription drug program, whereas the other 3 proposers operate that through a subsidiary and through contracts with CVS. So a little bit of a difference there. And moving on to quality measurement standards. So all of the carriers except for Anthem and United Healthcare were willing to provide a HEDIS or similar report specific to the city to kind of customize a report just for us. As far as admissions data, Anthem did not provide that. They determined that was proprietary, so we did not get that information from them. Everybody else did provide that. And one thing that really stood out to me is that Kaiser and United Healthcare had significantly higher office visits, rates of office visits per group than other carriers. So I think that is something to really take note of and consider and maybe look at going forward as well. HealthNet said that they would not provide data on referral submissions. And then Kaiser said that they would not provide data on claim status, referral submissions, prior authorization requests, or prescription submissions, citing that data as confidential, whereas the other providers did indicate that they would provide that information. And if we look at online resources, a lot of that is very similar. Everybody provides a website, an app, and all the different types of things that are pretty standard now. Looking at the video materials that we asked about, United Healthcare did offer a $100,000 communication allocation, which could be used in part towards video content. So that's something to consider. As far as telehealth, which I think we all know has been surging, particularly this last year. Aetna, Anthem, and Kaiser have in-network providers as part of their telehealth, and it appears that Blue Shield, HealthNet, and United Healthcare contract out their telehealth through various tech solutions. And then if we look at wellness, so a lot of that is very similar, but there are, there are a few things to look at. So Aetna and Kaiser did indicate some restrictions on the use of the allocated wellness funding. So that's something to consider there. As far as the wellness resources, Aetna, Anthem, and HealthNet appear to have fairly robust resources. Blue Shield and United Healthcare were perhaps a bit less so. And in offering wellness resources to non-members, people who are outside of their plan, Anthem and Blue Shield indicated that they would not offer that. Kaiser and United Healthcare would offer that, and Aetna and HealthNet would, but for a fee. So that's something to look at. Then looking at the EFAP program, most of the carriers were willing to collaborate on that as far as continuity of care. Although Blue Shield indicated they were willing to discuss it and didn't firmly commit to that collaboration. And moving on to condition management resources. They're very similar in the services that are offered. I will point out that HealthNet has only been providing these services for 9 years. The other providers had a lot longer in that area. Anthem, HealthNet, and Kaiser indicated they were willing to customize those services, so they would work with us if we had any particular customization that we wanted to do. They use similar delivery models in providing these resources. Anthem and United Healthcare indicated having the highest caseloads. Blue Shield had the lowest caseload, and Kaiser did not provide an average on that. As far as return on investment reporting, Blue Shield provides that reporting. The other carriers did not, although Anthem did offer an alternate solution. So still trying to meet that through a different mechanism. As far as receiving CM services nationwide, everybody has it except Blue Shield provides that. They indicate they could provide that by phone only, so not in person. And Kaiser, being limited nationwide, they only have that available in their specific 8 regions. And when we asked for any additional CM services they might provide, Anthem did offer an alternate solution available for a cost. None of the other carriers offered anything additional in that for that item. And finally, looking at miscellaneous services, I'll just point out that for value-added services, Anthem proposed what they call included health, which is a concierge provider access service focused on LGBTQ populations. Blue Shield proposed on-site or near-site clinics, and UHC proposed their Real Appeal program, which is a weight loss program, and their Simply Engaged wellness program, which includes coaching, screenings, and incentives. I know that was a lot to take in. Were there any questions? I'll say generally the services were very similar. I think the differences were relatively minimal, and but something that we can look at going forward. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. And my apologies, I actually took Shauna a little bit out of order. In terms of the order of the material in the PowerPoint. So we'll go back to the administrative services, and actually Paul will be discussing that, reviewing that with you.
Sure. So as Shauna pointed out, there's a lot of material here, and so I'm just going to go over a few highlights. And just to clarify too, you're going to see this again a couple different times. So we're going to show you this material again when we meet subsequently. Probably be able to see it in a different light at that point. So if you can't absorb something right now, or if there's any other questions that come through, you're definitely going to get a chance to ask again and clarify. But under admin and support services, we were asking things more specifically about how the behind the scenes portion, how staff is going to be able to manage this plan and the resources that we bring on. In implementation, a main component that we wanted to touch on was just what that transition is going to look like. If we do have a new provider, how is continuity of care going to work? How is that transition going to happen? How are members going to know? For the most part, all of the providers that would create a transition or would have a situation where transition would occur, we're able to fulfill and identify a plan of action at some point that really works with the city and works with our ability to try to work out that plan and make sure that members are understanding this change, if a change is going to happen to them. Under claim processing, we wanted to make sure that we understood that adjudication, actual use of service, who is going to be processing claims from their organization. This is still across the board for all 6 vendors, even though it does seem to be a stronger point and more understood from our members for the non-staff model. We wanted to know whether claim processing is happening, who our members are going to be talking to be able to understand and work out a claim problem and address that, and what is their capacity. All members were all bidders again on this particular service were pretty in line. There wasn't anything that was extremely standing out, relatively different from one another as far as the claim processing component went. And all members also provided the same level of services that we're currently receiving. There was no large deviation from the process that our members are used to experiencing through the claim process itself. Under eligibility and billing, we wanted to make sure and understand that each of these vendors that are proposing are able to handle the city's unique program structure and fully accept our eligibility rules. All bidders did agree to accept completely the city's rules. All bidders were also able to give us statistics to a certain degree. A couple of them were unable to match the exact things we were asking for, but were able to provide a little bit of counter. So for example, UHC was not able to give us online direct claim data, but they could give us it manually outside of their system. Kaiser was not able to give us the regular monthly reports that we want for claim data, but they were able to give us quarterly. But all in all, they are able to give us the reports and the statistics that we want to understand what's happening with our population after we give them over to whoever is selected as a bidder. Of note on this section, we also asked about the enrollment process and whether or not they're able to accept our enrollment files and process members completely. Blue Shield was the lone bidder that does not require binding arbitration across all 6 of them, which was kind of a standout thing, particularly for that concept of members having to agree to binding arbitration when they enroll. Moving over to plan sponsor services really quick. And here we are just understanding who is the dedicated team that the bidders that are presenting will be able to provide a dedicated team that we can work with and help to manage our plan to troubleshoot problems. All of them were able to either already identify a team of members for us or about to identify a team of members. There's no problem in actually having that team identified at some point through the contractual process. And then quickly moving through to call center services, we wanted to make sure and understand if there's a possibility of better integrating with our third-party administrator on call center services. Can the member experience be better than what is a typical kind of segregated organizational structure where the third-party administrator is telling you something, then you have to go over to the provider, they're telling you something different. Can that integration happen? Can the member experience be better? And all of the bidders are able to work with us and try to make that member experience better. Across the board, we were asked, we were getting answers back that they're interested in doing that with us and able to facilitate. And then systems and cybersecurity is the last part of this section. For this particular one, because of the regulatory practice of this particular industry, these questions were pretty much cookie cutter. There wasn't a whole lot of deviation, but we were asking things about the integrity of their system, how long it's been in force, in the unfortunate experience, if there is a breach of service or breach of information, how do they deal with that? Something that we never want to see, but it can happen. All bidders in this aspect, again, had responses, had ability, and were identified as being, able and satisfactory in providing those services and creating and keeping that security in place. That is a really quick walkthrough in this section, but that is kind of the overview. Again, you're going to be seeing this material later on, and we can talk about it again. But is there any question that you have over the admin and support section?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Paul. And so now we are going to move to Kenan's technical evaluation, which is an attachment to the report. And Borden is going to walk you through the cost proposal and disruption review.
Great. Thank you. The moment everybody's been waiting for, what's this going to cost? Paul, if you could just move to slide 8, I think that's probably the best starting point. Everybody can read through a lot of the detail there. But in essence, to get to a carrier cost summary, I put a little chart together with beautiful little colors for you. These are the annual cost projections for 2022. And you'll see there's a column labeled 2021 as well, too. That's your current cost with Anthem, and down at the bottom of the page, you'll see Kaiser as well too. We have this chart summarized by, if you look, first it's the PPO, then it's your comprehensive HMO, then it's your narrowed network HMO, and then finally the regional Vivity HMO in comparisons there. And then we sum the non-staff model together, the PPO with the 3 HMOs, to kind of give you each vendor's total cost perspective. And then we have Kaiser underneath there as well too. The next to the heading for each row, where you see enrollment, there's a number there. That's the number of subscribers, in other words, employees that are covered under each that would be covered under each scenario. So obviously for the PPO, everybody's quoting the same number of enrollees. And the same for each HMO as well too. The color coordination was supposed to be red, yellow, green, green being more favorable, yellow being more neutral, red being not so favorable. But when I used a true red, it kind of blurred out the numbers underneath. So it's kind of a pink, yellow, green. And for that, let's get started with the PPO. Currently, it's about a $43.2 million program, call it 43.3 on a rounding basis. And Anthem is proposing a 5% increase to the PPO, moving it to $45.4 million or a 2.16 increase. Aetna, first of all, this is of course based off the same plan designs as well too. Aetna is proposing a 12.9% rate decrease to 37.7. Blue Shield is at minus 5.2. That's why you see those obviously in green. HealthNet did not provide a PPO proposal, and UHC came in at a 5.02 cost increase, very similar to Anthem's. On the full comprehensive HMO, there's not a large enrollment in there, about 96 individuals. It's about a $2 million current cost. Anthem is proposing a minor rate decrease of 2.2%. Aetna is coming in at minus 12.9. Blue Shield at minus 0.7. HealthNet is at minus 7 there, and UHC is at a 5.02 increase. The narrowed network that is currently being offered through Anthem covers about 4,500 employees. It's about a $70.2 million program in 2021. A rate decrease is being proposed by Anthem of 2.2% to $68.6 million. Aetna is proposing a minus 7.78, call it. Blue Shield is a minus 2.8. HealthNet on a combined basis, and we'll have a rate summary breakout on the next page. They offered they're offering 3 different HMOs. When we asked, well, what is the assumption of enrollment? The assumption that they use is 23% would go into Excel Care, 67 into Smart Care, and Salud would get a 10% of population. So we blended those together to come up with a minus 2.42%. And UHC consistently is at a plus 5.02%. On the regional HMO, your Vivity Anthem HMO, there's 1,878 subscribers, equating to about a $2.62 million annual cost for 2021. Anthem is proposing a rate decrease of minus 2.2%. Aetna, again, given consideration to the challenges, they did propose a plan, but it comes at a 31.8% rate increase. And I'll talk a little bit more about each carrier in summation. Blue Shield originally had Trio in this category. After further discussions with them, said, no, Trio is really not a competitor to the Vivity HMO. It really falls into the narrowed network category. My apologies. Blue Shield on the narrowed network was an 80-20 split to come up to those costs between SaveNet and Trio. HealthNet, as was previously mentioned, did not offer a regional HMO. UHC did, again at 5.02%. So if we look at the total non-staff model, or excluding Kaiser, for 2021, it's about a $141.7 million program. And you can see that Anthem, if you add all the coverages up, it comes out to about 0%. It's a minor decrease, but the gist of it is the minus 2.2% on the HMOs plus the 5% increase on the HMO, on the PPO, washes everything out to basically a rate pass for 2022. Aetna, on an overall basis, you see that they offered significant rate decreases in everything except for the regional HMO, where it was a substantial increase, but overall is at a minus 2%, 2.08%. In further discussions with Aetna, bringing this to their attention that, obviously the regional HMO sticks out like a sore thumb, asked them if they would be willing to do some smoothing. Now, smoothing is a concept, it's an underwriting concept where basically rather than pass on the individual rate adjustments as are outlined for each carry, for each coverage, they would just pass on the overall increase or some version thereof. So technically, you could, on best and final, you could see Aetna coming back with a -2 on each line of coverage, which would smooth out their regional HMO issue at 31.8%. But that's me speculating. They said they were open to smoothing. So we'll see what kind of version, if any, they come back with on best and final offer. Blue Shield, again, they are at a 3.74%, but I should outline here that that is on 7,108 subscribers. The total is 8,986. Their exclusion is the Vivity HMO. So where they've said we could offer that alongside with them. So if we look at this, what they are proposing, the 7,108, it's about $111,000, which is about a $4.3 million decrease from what it would be under the Anthem 2021 rates. Everything's compared to 2021. And so it's about a 3.74% rate decrease. HealthNet, based off their offering, and they're covering about 4,619 subscribers. So a substantial amount less, about 4,300 employees would have to have coverage through an alternative carrier. They're coming in for the coverages that they did quote at about $70,376,000, about a $1.8 million savings or 2.55% for that. And then finally, the UHC, which quoted consistently plus 5.02. And I should qualify, if you note at the top, UHC has a little asterisk by it. And and if you look at the bottom of that chart, UHC offered a quarter-month credit to bring the rates down to 5.02. The original rates that were proposed were 7.26. And that's what the renewals would be based off of as well too. The rates that you'll see are based off 7.26. It's just there's a credit amount. So on a cost basis, they're looking at 5.02, although the rates they proposed were at 7.26. Are there any questions on this cost page? Oh, I'm sorry. I failed to share with you Kaiser. So Kaiser is offering a 3% rate increase. Since they're the only staff model HMO that was offered, Kenan has talked to staff, and if the JLMBC doesn't have any objections, because both Kaiser and Anthem not only provided quotes, but they provided within their quotes their renewal underwriting, which we asked of each carrier is provide us renewal underwriting. The other carriers provided us sample underwriting, which was all acceptable. But we received the actual underwriting for Anthem and for Kaiser for all the plans. Since there is no competition for Kaiser on a non-staff model, staff felt it appropriate for us and we have a date set to start the negotiations with Kaiser on the renewal as well too. Unless there's conversation here today that says we should hold off on that with Kaiser. We will hold off with Anthem, obviously, because there's competition in place, and we're not going to disrupt that. Now, are there any questions?
In the Anthem, does that include, did it also roll up into the Vivity plans that on those numbers that include Vivity?
Yes. If you look at that regional HMO 3, that column, that's the Vivity HMO.
And that's the minus 2.0, 2.2, I'm sorry.
Correct, minus 2.2.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, we'll quickly move to the next page. We won't spend a lot of time there, but I wanted to kind of show you just kind of the rate summary here as well too, so that you can see the comparative rates for everybody. And I also wanted to have a little bit of a discussion down towards the bottom of the page relative to these are the rates that are being proposed for 2022. We asked for rate caps for 2023 and 2024. What a rate cap is a mechanism that where the carrier says we guarantee that our rates will not be higher than a certain percentage in the following years. So for 2023 and 2024, Kaiser did not provide a rate guarantee. Anthem provided for 2023 only, not for 2024. And their rate cap is 7%. So 2023 rates would not be higher than 7% of the 2022 rates. However, they also had a caveat in there. Should a third carrier be introduced, so currently we have Kaiser and Anthem, should a third carrier, or I imagine a fourth carrier, be introduced, then the rate cap goes from 7% to 9%. Aetna had a 7% rate cap for 2023, and for 2024, an 8% rate cap. Blue Shield is offering a 6.9% rate cap for 2023, and for the trio, 4.9%. And you can see in there, I added a note that 9% on Anthem coverage. So for instance, to complete the Blue Shield offering, if we added the Anthem Vivity HMO, that would be a 9% rate cap there in that empty box, which is currently empty. Okay. Health Net offered a first-year rate cap at 8.5% and a second-year rate cap at 9.9. There again, not only the regional HMO, the Vivity HMO is a blank, and so is the PPO. So Anthem would require that the rate cap go from 7 to 9% for the PPO for 2023, and from 7 to 9% for Vivity as well for 2023. Then finally, for UHC, if they were awarded the HMO business, all of it, their rate cap would be 4.5% for 2023. Otherwise, it's 5.5. And in the subsequent year, 2024, a 5.5% rate cap if they are awarded all of the HMO business. Otherwise, 6.5.
Again, so I'm reading that correct. That's the rate cap of both years. From
correct. Yeah. As you can see, UHC had the lowest rate caps that they offered. They're coming in with a little higher price to begin with, but that could potentially be offset by rate caps in future years, lower rate caps.
And this RFP will be a multiple years, so that's long term. That would be the rate cap. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a good thing. It gives us a cap to our liability, to the potential cost liability for benefits, for medical benefits. But in the same token, you know, underwriting could show that those type of increases aren't required, and we could see something underneath that for both years as well too. It really all depends on how the plans perform. Any other questions on the rates or the rate caps? So I'm going to go to talk a little bit about disruption and access to care. Paul, if we could go to the Geo Access page 13 first. I just kind of want to make, what we did is we asked all the carriers to provide us a Geo Access report. What a Geo Access report is, it basically says, hey, can you provide the services based off where the members live? And what we did is we said, the parameter we said for yes, this is a match, is if you have two providers within a 5-mile radius of the zip code of where the person lives. So if you can imagine like a 5-mile buffer beyond the zip code. And you can see here that we had them look at it from 10 different scenarios. First of all, primary care physicians, internists, OBGYNs, pediatricians, MH stands for mental health, SA stands for substance abuse providers. We also wanted them to look at other specialists, urgent care facilities, outpatient facilities, mental health, substance abuse facilities, and hospitals. And then we get the column just to the left where it says overall average. That's where we kind of measured based off of what they showed in the Geo Access. Now, this does not mean that your doctor, your hospital, your care group, but this means that there is a doctor, there is a hospital, services can be provided. How good of a match do we have? And you can see on the PPO that the range for the carriers for Aetna, Anthem, Blue Shield, HealthNet, well, HealthNet didn't provide anything on the PPO, and UHC, very favorable. The lowest is 85% up to above 95%. That would be considered a good match. And the other coverages, even on the HMOs, you can see quite high in the 80s and 90% within that definition as well too. So on an overall basis, they have the right, they have providers that could serve, and we feel confident that providers are there. Now, the next question is, yeah, okay, so they have providers there, but are they my providers? Are they the providers that we're currently using? And that goes from professional services to facilities and so forth. That's where disruption comes in. And that's where what we did is we gave them a list of all the providers, all the facilities that the City of LA subscribers used, and said, come back and let me know who's in your network for each line of coverage. And then we'll total that and look at what the disruption is. So in other words, the higher the percentage, the more the limited the disruption to the members would be. So Paul, if you could go back to the first disruption analysis. So based on carriers there. And what we found is that there was a very little disruption to the members. You can see we if you look at the top chart there, it shows first of all the PPO plan, and then you see physicians and other providers, facilities, and then pharmacies. So that's that, and then the numbers next to it is total number utilized. Those are the total number of providers that were utilized in there. So we had 6,562 different physicians or other providers utilized. And you can see and that was done by 2,489 subscribers. But you can see for Aetna, Out of those 6,562, 6,021 or 91.76% of those providers are in their PPO network. So the disruption is, between 8 and 9%. Then you look at Anthem, and you see that on the PPO plan, they had 88.71, 5,821, and so forth. Blue Shield as well too. I'm gonna, rather than go into a lot of the detail, if you look at on the PPO, the last line that is covered in gray, that's kind of an overall average for all those different lines. And you see that Aetna had 91.4, Anthem had 91.7, Blue Shield 92.3, Health Net didn't do it, and UHC 86.55. So a good overall lack of disruption, if you will. Now on the next one, this is the narrowed network, not the full network, but the narrowed network. We saw with the Aetna a 69.35. It's the same format as we use for the four, but you can see disruption is greater to the tune of about 30%. Currently in your Anthem network, it's 92.37 would be the disruption. Blue Shield very close at 91.48. Health Net at 86.78. And we'll get into their other, if you go down, I should go down on both. If you go down to the bottom of the page, you'll see that there we show Smart Care and Salute for Health Net at 82.1% and 57.5%. Those are all considerations for the narrowed network. And if I backtrack just one to the HMO trio, it's an 80.8% match for the narrowed network as well too. And then finally, for the narrow network, UHC is at 73.4%. On the full network, we only have 96 subscribers in there again, and you can see that they're consistently across the board. The first three carriers are all within 1% of each other, 97 and 96%. HealthNet drops to about a 90.8%, followed by UHC at 87.2%. And then on the regional HMO, your Vivity HMO that has 1,878 subscribers, you can see the number of providers that were used, 1,192. There, Aetna had an 82.09% match to the providers that are currently being used. Anthem, 97.35. Blue Shield did not offer, HealthNet did not offer, and UHC would come in just under 40% disruption. And that kind of, in a nutshell, kind of concludes the disruption analysis as well too. Are there any questions relative to that, or if I went too fast, or if there's a term I didn't explain it well, please let me know and I'll go over that.
Okay, so no further questions on costs or disruption. So then what I will do next is talk with you, just share with you a little bit more about in terms of process and what we are looking at here. There are a few updates we wanted to make here from what we've indicated in the report in terms of timing. So we are under a very tight window in terms of completing the final elements of our process, coming up with decisions and communicating those to City Council before they get to their July recess. So first, in terms of the due date for the best and final proposals, the report indicates that would be, we were going to give the proposers until May 21st. We'd actually like to move that up a day to May 20th, just looking at the calendar. We think that will be enough time for them and also give us a little bit of extra time for the work that we need to do bring that material back to you. We are hoping to schedule a meeting with you on or around May 26th to bring back that material and all of the evaluation information that's coming from the review committee. We would like to, the RFP does provide an opportunity for vendor interviews, and our recommendation is that you exercise that option, and that those interviews would take place over the next week or so. So really, no later than hopefully the middle to the end of that first week of June. And then we would reconvene you on or around June 10th for the final actions, not just with respect to the procurement, but also the recommendations to council for adoption of the 2022 LA Well program. So that would give us just enough time to get a report to PAW committee the following week, and then to city council before their July recess. So we'll be reaching out to you right after this meeting to determine your availability, and then of course we'd appreciate whatever you can do in terms of making yourselves available for the scheduling of those meetings. Any questions on the timeline? Okay. And then last, we have a group of—
I'm sorry, Stephen, I had a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So the vendor interviews, if they take place, are you proposing that they would be all on the same day, or do we book multiple days? How would that work exactly?
It'll be over multiple days, so we're not gonna, we think that would be too much to try to do in one day, particularly in trying to juggle all the different availability for all the members. So we're gonna look for the best fits, and probably something like 2 or 3 in one block of time seems like it might work, not be too overwhelming for all of you.
And then my second question is, because each of the JLMBC members have a designee as well, and different ones come to different meetings. Is it your desire that we should have some consistency so that the same JLMBC members attend each of those meetings, or what would your thought be?
That would certainly be ideal. We would prefer that, but we also recognize that this is a lot of interviews to pull off within a very short window of time. So, we recognize everybody's just gonna be able to do the best that they can do. Ideally, if it works to get all members, all of the non-alternate members of the JLMBC for all meetings, that would be outstanding. But if that doesn't work out, we will need to proceed because of the need to wrap up the process by mid-June.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions on the scheduling or the timing? Okay. So then the last thing that we wanted to talk with you about, if there's no other questions on any of the content or the material, just is in terms of the actions that we're recommending for the JLMBC. So that's included within the recommendation section of the report. It does include moving forward with the best and final. We're looking for some feedback. We've crafted a recommendation that basically is to see if there is some consensus regarding Vivity and since we do not have an option on the table that would protect the Vivity members from a much higher level of disruption, we are the recommendation is sort of that would give us, it's not obligating anything, but it is helping to give us and the proposer some level of clarity on where we want this process to wind up in terms of disruption for our members. And then the next recommendation has to do with these sort of key, sort of looking for your agreement with what we would regard as sort of the key tests for any unbundling. And then the last is your formal action to move forward with the vendor interviews as we've discussed. Any questions or comments?
No question. Do we need to make a recommendation or a motion to support for the adopt the recommendations? Is that where we are?
Move we adopt the recommendations.
Tony, a second.
Been moved in second. All in favor? Do we have to take a voice vote or just aye?
We do have to take a roll call vote, and just to make clarification too, we did modify recommendation B to be May 20th instead of the 21st, and recommendation E to be 2 weeks from the 26th to the 4th. I'm just to concur that is the agreement from the motion.
Accepted.
Okay. So then we will go ahead and do a roll call vote for all 5 motions. We're going to go in order of committee members, starting with the labor side. So Dave, your vote?
Aye. Yes.
Dave votes aye. Paul, your vote?
Yes.
Paul votes aye. Marlene, your vote?
Aye.
Marlene votes aye. I do not think we have Gary or Chris attending, but just to clarify and make sure they didn't jump in unnoticed, Gary or Chris, are you here? Okay, good. Then we'll move over to the management side. Wendy, your vote?
Aye.
Wendy votes aye. Neil, your vote? I'm sorry, Todd, your vote?
Yes.
Todd votes aye. Rich, your vote?
Aye.
Rich votes aye. Tony, your vote?
Aye.
Tony votes aye. And Matt, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Matt. So it's 3 ayes on the labor side, 5 ayes on the management side. It's unanimous. It passes.
And if I could, thank you to the staff. I know this is enormous, an enormous amount of work. And thank you in particular to the 2 sort of volunteers we recruited, one on the labor and one on the management side, who aren't even the staff. It was very clear. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I too want to say the same. I thought it was just very transparent. I love the format. I appreciate the hard work everybody did. And it's a good report. It's a great report, I thought, actually. So
I agree, and great job to the staff. And I think it's obvious to all of us that at home teleworking, you all are working very, very hard. So thank you. Take that back to the mayor.
And just to be
if
clear,
that was a plug about a different issue, it's not on the agenda. Move ahead, Marlene. David, call the question. Move ahead.
Just to be clear, all the proposals will be invited to the best and final offer, right?
Yes, the best and final is going out to everyone. That includes Kaiser too, because we are, yes. As Borden mentioned, we even though they are the only proposer, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be discussing further and looking further what they can do in terms of their cost proposal.
Thank you, Stephen and your team. Appreciate it. We'll go to item number 4 on the agenda, Committee Report 2111.
Good morning. This is Ted Vasquez, Personnel Analyst in the Employee Benefits Division. Report 2111 is our staffing reimbursement report for the 3rd quarter of fiscal year 2020-2021. The report requests that the committee approve reimbursements from the Employee Benefits Trust Fund for Personnel Department salary costs of the 2 positions currently serving the LAWell program and the 2 positions serving the Live Well program. Attachment A of the report provides the calculation of these costs, and the LA Well program's total reimbursement amount for the 3rd quarter is $119,254.64, and the Live Well program's total reimbursement amount is $67,499.33. And that concludes this report.
Does committee have any questions? Hearing none, do we a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it. Paul Beachley.
I'll second. This is Matthew.
Motion made and second. All in favor? We can take a roll. Aye for David
Sure.
Sanders.
Thank you, Dave. Aye for Dave. Paul, your vote?
Aye.
Aye for Paul. Marlene, your vote?
Aye.
Aye for Marlene. Wendy, going on to management side, Wendy, your vote?
Aye.
Wendy votes aye. Neil, Todd, your vote?
Aye.
Todd votes aye. Rich, your vote?
Aye.
Rich votes aye. Tony, your vote?
Aye.
Tony votes aye. And Matt, your vote?
Aye.
Matt votes aye. 3 labor, 5 management, all aye, all unanimous, it passes.
Thank you, sir. Item number 4, committee report 2112.
That's me. Thanks, Dave. Hi, committee members. So this is our monthly wellness program activity report covering the months of March and April of 2021. So we continue with Live Well wellness programming delivered virtually through Zoom by offering a variety of live exercise classes during the daytime and in the evening. So classes included Pilates, yoga, kickboxing, Zumba, functional fitness, circuit training, fun boot camp, and a new Bari class that we introduced in March. We also continue to host live follow-along cooking demonstrations on Wednesday evenings and continued our new afternoon 15-minute stretch and meditation breaks, which we introduced in February. So in total, we had about 3,300 total engagements in March and April with the Zoom classes. And I also wanted to just give you a brief update on the results of some of the special campaigns we ran late last year and earlier this year. So as we previously reported to the committee, from January to February, we conducted Live Well's first citywide virtual team challenge on the livewell.la wellness platform and the mobile app. Employees were encouraged to reach out and connect with coworkers, form a team, and complete 1 million steps over 4 weeks to earn 300 points. Every participant earned a competition medal and a running belt, and the top 5 teams won additional prizes like gift cards and Live Well apparel. We had about 575 employees total participate in the challenge, creating 160 teams. The winning team with over 4 million steps completed was actually from General Services, the Mail Services Division. So I wanted to congratulate Tony and his employees for being number 1 in that challenge. The second campaign we conducted was in the fall of 2020, the flu vaccine campaign, to encourage as many city employees to get a flu shot. That campaign was advertised via several communication methods, including a memo from the mayor to city employees. We mailed out a citywide postcard. We also sent a letter to all the labor organizations. We advertised it on social media, citywide emails, various newsletter posts. And the results of that campaign are provided on page 6 of the report. And so overall participation was about 7.4%. We actually had 3 department winners with the greatest percentage of employees who received the flu shot. In the small department category, LA Convention Center came out on top. CAO actually won the medium size department category, and then personnel won the large size department category. So I don't know if you can see it, but you guys will be getting a very nice plaque here for your accomplishment. So thank you for supporting the campaign and getting your employees out there and getting their flu shots. And on the labor organization front, we also had MOU 61, that's our admin and senior admin analysts, win in the small category. MOU 16, the supervisory librarians, win in the in the medium size category, and MOU 1 EAA 1 in the large size category. So you'll be getting our nice flu shot plaque, and then we'll also be reaching out to you. You get to choose a organization level prize as well for that accomplishment. So thank you again for getting the word out there and encouraging your employees to get their flu shots. And then lastly, we did reach out to Kaiser and Anthem just to get information regarding vaccination rates for the entire city population covered under the LA Well program. So you'll see on page 7 that we actually saw an increase in just overall flu vaccination for 2020 versus 2019. So Anthem was 50% of their members in 2020 receiving a flu shot versus 39% in 2019. And then we also saw an increase there for Kaiser, 44% in 2020 versus 2019, which was 39%. So definitely happy to see the results of the campaign show an increase there in the number of employees getting flu shots this year. So that concludes the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
I'm assuming that SEIU was a distant second behind, close second behind Marlene.
I didn't hear that. Good job, Marlene.
Thank you. EAA remains healthy at home. So I do have a question though on the 15-minute stretches. I really like that idea. Are people signing up in advance for this, or is it, or do they get reminders to their email like time to stretch, or is that just something they got to remember on their own?
No, they do sign up in advance for it through the Live Well website, and it's through Zoom. So once they sign up, they'll get an email with a calendar invite actually. So if you add it to your calendar will automatically send you a reminder, usually about 30 minutes in advance of the class starting.
Okay. I'm going to be reaching out because I do have a new form of communication coming to my members, and I think it's something that maybe I use your links, send that out.
That'd be great. Thank you, Marlene, if you can push that for us. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the report, Jenny. And we'll go to item 2113.
Good morning, JLMBC members. This is Chung, and I will be going over some of the highlights from the March and April projects and activities report. For this report, there are two particular items that I would like to go over. The first item is a project update for the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or ARPA for short. ARPA is designed to facilitate the nation's recovery from the economic and health effects brought upon by the COVID-19 pandemic. ARPA was just signed into law back in March and includes two provisions that affect the LA Well program. The first provision is a temporary increase to the dependent care reimbursement account. The increase increases the amount from 5,000 to 10.5 thousand. So in conjunction with the 2021 mid-year change that was just implemented back in March, and members can now elect to increase their DACRA up to this new limit. The second provision is a premium subsidy for the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1985, better known as COBRA. Under this new COBRA provision, the federal government will pay 100% of the COBRA insurance premiums for eligible members who involuntarily lost employment or had reduced hours. The subsidy is only available for a certain time frame. Staff is working on updating the city's COBRA documents and is working with the LA Well benefit providers on the implementation procedures for this new subsidy. Okay. The next item we have is an update on the Affordable Care Act. In April, Ernst & Young, the city's ACA consultant, had electronically filed the city's 2020 tax year ACA information to the IRS. During the review process for the filing, a number of 1095-C forms were found to have an incorrect amount displayed on line 15 and have been corrected. Line 15 displays the line 15 on the 1095-C form displays the employee's share of the lowest cost monthly premium that is offered to the employees by the city. Line 15 does not display the employee's actual monthly cost of their elected medical plan. So for example, the lowest cost plan available to most city employees is a self-only HMO plan, even if the employee was enrolled in a family-level PPO plan. The 1095C line 15 would only display the lowest cost plan that is available to the employee. So for most employees, the correct amount for line 15 for 2020 is 0. The correction was included as part of the filing with the IRS and will not affect the employee's 2020 IRS tax filing. There is no action needed on the part of the employee. A notice has been mailed to approximately 8,100 affected employees, informing them of this correction and provides information on how they can obtain a revised 1095C form if they so wish. And that concludes this report. If you have any questions regarding these 2 items or any other items in the report, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Hearing no questions, comments? Thank you, sir, for the report. And
thank you very much.
And that concludes the reports, and we're at requests of future agenda items other than what we have in terms of calendars and dates and RFP or any other agenda items for next month. Hearing none, I guess we can, or any other comments, or we are going to adjournment. Hearing none, thank you all, and we are adjourned. Appreciate the work, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.